Welcome, everybody, to the Indie Film Exhibition Masterclass. I'm your teacher, Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions, and I thank you for taking part in this brand new class. And today's lesson will be how to prepare early. So, from the very beginning of my career, I was always focused on the creative aspect of movie making. I used to get together with my friends, my cousins. We would write little scripts. We'd get together in the neighborhood or at my house, and we would just start filming our movies. And we didn't care about who was seeing it or film festivals. We weren't thinking so much about how to make money. We just did it for fun. And my creative spirit in high school is what prompted me to take my career to the next level as I started to take classes at the New York Film Academy, and eventually when I went to college at Emerson College up in Boston, that's when I really started to understand the difficulties of making a movie, as you probably would imagine, when it comes to working with a crew, when it comes to equipment, editing, sound, and the logistics of running a smooth production. So, when I got out of college, I decided I wanted to start my career as early as possible. And that's when I made my first movie called Priceless, which was about a jewel thief who goes back to his hometown of Staten Island, New York, and tries to reconnect with his ex girlfriend while he's on the run from the mob. Now, this was a film that I really put my heart and soul into. I wrote it when I was in school. I took some personal experiences and kind of punctuated it into this sort of romance, heist, dramatic type of story. And I worked with some amazing actors, many of whom have gone on to work on major films and television shows. And I had an amazing crew on that I will never forget. And that was really one of the first times I ran a production where I had to raise my own money. I got support from family friends as well as my own family. And I really went the extra mile to make something unlike anything I'd ever done before. This wasn't a movie that I was just like picking up the camera and going out. I had to really plan this to the T and to really make something that I believed was going to make a splash in the film festivals and become, one of those most talked about movies like The Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity or Napoleon Dynamite, like that indie splash that was going to be huge. That didn't quite happen, to be quite honest. We did a big premiere at Tribeca Cinemas when we finished the editing and the post production work, and we had a great response from the people that were there, and I felt pretty good about the film that I thought it was going to go places. But what happened? Well, aside from the fact that there was an economic crash, there was also the fact that when I started to do the film festival scene, nobody was taking it. I must have entered into 10 of the biggest festivals that I could think of within my area of New York, and the big ones everybody talks about, like Sundance and Toronto and Tribeca, and they all rejected it. And I started feeling very discouraged to the point where I just thought maybe it was, I don't know, maybe it was just a quality, maybe I just didn't go far enough. I put all my heart and soul into it. I'm spending all these monies on the film festival entries and it's just not getting me anywhere. So, what else am I supposed to do? And then I tried to look at distribution. And I had, some connections to people that knew a number of companies that would put out to straight to DVD. And back when we used to have Blockbuster Video, you'd be able to get your movie out on the video store shelves. But the same thing, nobody would take the film, and it was maybe down to quality, maybe it was that I was acting and directing in it, which tends to be a bias to some people, and maybe it was just the budget wasn't high enough. But I think one of the issues that I had, even as I approached it, was I was so fixated with the creative aspect of it, of just trying to get the picture made, and I was taking it each step at a time, as I thought I was taught in school. The thing I never understood and that I never quite grasped was marketing. And I could tell you a number of different horror stories from other independent filmmaker friends of mine who must have mortgaged their own houses and tried to make that big, expensive indie film. They may have spent almost close to $100,000 out of their own pocket to make it happen. And maybe they got into the festivals, but when it came down to actually trying to make money, they barely saw even a dime from it. They may have sold maybe 14 DVDs at a convention. And the reason we all fall into that trap, if we're trying to do this on our own without a studio, is that we don't have the reach or the messaging that would get the people to see our work. And that's the thing I realized very quickly as I started to take Priceless to a number of different film festivals. And rather than, being able to be accepted, I just decided I was going to network with people and I'll hand out the DVDs and, see what happens. Maybe I'll look out and I'll meet an executive. What I found was that the people that I met who were in the industry or were just, kind of like making their own connections themselves, they would watch the DVD and then I run into them later on at the festival and they would actually be really impressed. They would really compliment me on how well the movie was made and the quality and the storytelling and the performances, and they were really impressed for the kind of money that was spent on this, that it actually was something that they could watch that didn't feel cheap despite the low budget that we had. So that always made me wonder, what would it have taken for me if I just went the extra mile, if I actually went back to that film and knew ahead of time what I was going to do differently to get this thing out there. And so much of what we do as independent filmmakers is, yes, we're caught up in the art. We want to express ourselves. We want to tell our stories. At the same time, if you're looking for a career, if you're looking to build an audience, if you're looking to eventually make this a career where you're going to make money and God willing, you'll be able to make a living out of it, then we have to understand that other aspect, the business end of it. And a great actor named Blair Underwood, who you probably know from a lot of Tyler Perry movies, and he was recently in the Netflix series When They See Us, he gave the best advice to me when I went to the American Black Film Festival, when he said that we need to treat this as a business. It's show business. There's a reason why business is in the title of the name. And it's so important for us to understand that this is what the schools don't teach as much, which is how do you get a job? How do you get your work to be seen to people? And not always completely depend on the festivals. But the great thing about now is there's a whole lot of options to get your movie out there and to have people see it. But no matter what you do, even if a film festival accepts you, you still got to find a way to bring an audience to go out and see your screening, because you can't control that necessarily most of the time. So you got to find a way to get those people to see your work. And so this is what this class is designed to teach you, which is the best way to have a success with your film, whether it's your first film or it's your most recent film, is start as early as possible. Know exactly in the beginning who your audience is, who you're going to target to, and what kind of materials and ideas can you come up with that are out of the box that will grab people's attention through social media, through print, through podcasting, and every other form of marketing that works for getting your film out there. And just to kind of leave off, where I did find success for myself was when I did my most recent film, Vendetta Games. And even though it was a sequel to a film that I had done previously, I knew that I was going to treat it as if it's a movie on its own and not have to totally depend on the first film for people to understand the story. So right from the beginning, I knew exactly how I wanted to promote it. Like, there was a casino setting in the film, so I knew my marketing materials were going to be casino based. I was going to make playing chips. I was going to make a card with some of the actors' faces on it. I was going to do a poster that was in the form of a playing card and having like characters and symbols that were represented as an action movie. And I also had a great editor who was able to make a trailer that sort of played into the casino aspect of the story and how the gambling could lead to your demise, your death, and the excitement. And, we really had a sense of that, and also knowing we weren't going to win over female fans, So if this was going to be an action film, you're most likely going to get a male audience. So we targeted to a younger demographic, like 18 to 49, and made sure that the images were eye-popping enough that for any young person that loves, a similar type of movie or TV show like what we're doing, they're going to be interested in this. And so we would try to target that specific group of people, and then hopefully word of mouth would spread to other audiences of different cultures, races, genders, and so on. And we've had a lot of success on it from this point. And I'm going to talk a little later in a future class about film distribution and what that takes to avoid the pitfalls of a bad deal. So, my advice here is everything that you're going to learn in this class really involves learning and knowing as early as possible how you're going to plan to release your film. Whether it's going to be on YouTube, or if you're going to put it in a festival, or if you're going to do your own distribution or find a distributor, these are tools you're going to need to ensure your success and your reach.